Polar Bear, Why is Your World Melting? By Robert E. Wells. The Arctic Ocean is very cold. So cold it's covered with floating sea ice. But it is just right for the polar bears. Polar bears live on the ice and hunt for seals. Like other places in the world, the Arctic has seasons. The winter, they are long and cold. The summers are shorter and warmer, but you still need winter clothes. In the summer, some sea ice melt and break up into small chunks called ice floes. Now scientists are worried. Every year, the Arctic temperature has been slowly rising, and more summer ice has been melting. The ice floes are getting smaller and farther apart. It is harder for polar bears to hunt, and they often go hungry. Weakened by hunger, some bears, especially mothers with cubs, are having trouble swimming the long distance between ice floes. We want to rescue them. Why are the polar bears in trouble? Why is the ice melting? Why is the Arctic getting warmer? The answer begins with the sun. Our sun is the energy source for all the world's weather. It beams its hot ray all the way to Earth, 93 million miles away. Some of the Earth heat is reflected back into space by Earth's surface. Some of the heat is trapped and stored by invisible gases in the atmosphere. The heat-trapping gases are called greenhouse gases. They keep the air close to Earth warm. This warming is called the greenhouse effect. Earth's greenhouse effect warms the air like a garden greenhouse. When the sun shines through the glass or plastic of the greenhouse, heat is trapped inside by the roof and walls, even when it's cold outside. When the sun shines through the Earth's atmosphere, heat is trapped by greenhouse gases. The main greenhouse gases that store heat are carbon dioxide, CO2, methane, nitrous oxide, and water vapor. With the right amount of these gases, Earth's average temperature stays at about 59 degrees Fahrenheit or 15 degrees Celsius, just right for plants, animals, and people. If there's too much greenhouse gas in the air can become too warm. This is happening now in the Arctic and all over the world. Scientists believe that CO2, which stays in the air longer than the other greenhouse gases, is the main cause of the extra warming. Much of the CO2 comes from factories and machines that burn fossil fuels. Coal and oil are fossil fuels. They come from plants and tiny animals that lived long ago and became buried in the ground. Chunks of coal from mines are loaded into train cars and transported to coal-burning factories and power plants. Coal-burning power plants generate much of the world's electricity. Some power plants burn more than 100 railroad carfuls of coal every day. The world is using more and more electricity for home, offices, and factories. As more coal is burned to generate more electricity, more CO2 goes into the air. CO2 also comes from burning oil. Oil is pumped up from deep under the ground and refined into diesel, fuel, and gasoline for motor vehicles, boats, and ships, and kerosene for jet airplanes. Every day, thousands of airplanes fly to cities around the world, and thousands of ships across oceans and lakes. Every day, millions of cars, trucks, buses, and motorcycles travel the world's road and highway. There are about 700 million cars in the world. If they were stacked on platforms, 3 cars to a platform, they would make a tower that reached from Earth to the moon. The exhaust from all the world's cars goes into the air, increases the greenhouse gases effect, and causes more polar ice to melt. It's really so important to people that the Arctic ice is melting. Yes, because Arctic ice helps regulate weather all over the world. Because ice is white, it reflects the sun heat and back into space, keep the world cooler. As the Arctic sea ice melts, less and less heat is reflected, and more is absorbed by the darker ocean, making the ocean warmer. As the Arctic Ocean warms, it circulates heat to other oceans, and the water warms the air above it. Extra heat in the air can cause weather changes and many problems. If fall habitats get too warm, trees can weaken, making it easier for insects and disease to destroy them. If water habitat gets too warm for fish, then they can become ill and all die. Changing the weather patterns can cause flood and erosion in places that are usually dry, and drought or dryness in places that are usually wet. Warmer air dries forests, ground and trees, making it easier for fires to start. The melting of glaciers and other land ice raises ocean level, which will also cause flooding. Warmer ocean can increase the intensity of storms on land and sea. Yes, too much CO2 in the air causes serious problems. Is there anything we can do? Plants and trees absorb CO2 from the air and they grow, so planting new trees can be one way to help. Wind power and solar or sun power generate electricity without burning fossil fuels, which turn blades which spin an electricity generator. Solar cells on the roof generate electricity from the sun light. There are some good electricity-saving ideas. Put a sweater on instead of turning up the heat. Dry clothes towards the sun. Recycle. Even if your electricity comes from power of the wind or the sun, conserving electricity usually reduces CO2 because unused electricity can be sold to other places for energy-efficient appliances. Use energy-saving lights as well. Insulate house needs less heat in the winter and less air conditioning in the summer. We can reduce CO2 in the air by the way we travel. Carpool use less fuel per person than driving alone. Walking, jogging and biking use no fuel at all. With less CO2 in the air, our world will be a cooler, healthier place for people. I'm Polar Bear. Thank you for listening. And the reason we chose this book is because there's a global warming problem in our world, and a lot of people are not caring, and most of the reason is because they don't know what it's causing and why it's helpful. And by reading this book, we hope we helped and taught you something new. And thank you for listening.